Good day. My name is Trina. Every so often, when I feel called, I come here to discuss whatever's on my mind and my heart, some an experience that I've had. And today, I'd like to share a story. So, I was walking home, and I had seen one of the we call them crazy people. Um, Walking, right? She walks all over. And I saw her, she was stopped talking to someone, to another lady. And I said, isn't this peculiar? This particular woman, if you look at her or even look in her direction and she thinks that you're looking at her, she will curse you out badly. And I remember there was one time I was walking and I was walking behind her and I coughed and I passed her and she cursed me out real good because she thought I was laughing at her. That's what she was saying. So she was talking, anyway, she was talking really nicely to this particular woman that she knew. And I said, and I've seen this in a bunch of other so-called what we will call crazy people. Um, so it's like how I interpret it, how I perceive this is that after observing like a bunch of different people over a long period of time, male and female, um, I see where it's like to me, it's like we need to change our definition of what we call crazy because there are many people who are walking around and they're highly functioning, right? And then you have these people who we call them crazy because they're just kind of walking around, talking to themselves or cursing out people and whatnot. But it's pretty much like a sliding scale, right? So it's like a matter of degree. You have people that are so emotionally, like mentally unstable that it's much harder to contain. And what I liken it to is I'm not calling children crazy or anything by any means, understand that. But it's almost like when you have like really young children who have not been, I don't know, like tarnished by how, or like groomed how society wants them to act. They just do something. You wouldn't find a young child is like, oh, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to throw this tantrum because people are going to be looking at me. They're not like that, right? So whatever they're going through or feeling or whatever they want to say, they'll just do it, right? Or say it and not it's of no consequence to them. That's what I liken these so-called crazy people to be like. Um, so I'm saying if they were true to me, this is how I perceive it, how I'm interpreting it. If they were truly so-called crazy, they would not, in my mind, they would not be able to switch off that so-called craziness when they feel like it. To me, they would be doing that with everyone because of something that they just can't control, right? So that's how I see it. Um, and listening to them, it's like we need to get over our prejudice against people like that because if we really took the time to really listen, whether they're talking to you or whether they're like angry talking to you or just angry talking to themselves or even talking to you nicely because they do that as well. You can hear what I heard is I've heard some who are very intelligent. And you've heard people say there's a fine line between genius and madness. But this one particular guy was telling off another guy on the street that he saw, like, well, you need to go, stop saying that. You need to go read up first before you start talking about things like that. So, and this is like over, like I said, a long period of time, I've observed certain ones And this particular one, highly intelligent, even though he'll be making off or whatever it is. And other times he's like singing all happy and things like that. So like I said, we go through the same emotions as well, but just not to that extreme, right? So like I said, there are plenty of people who, like many of us, most people have neurosis, right? Which is an unreasonable or irrational fear or worry over a long period of time, right? And that's many of us, right? So are you going to call us crazy? Because all that is, like I said, it's a sliding scale of excuse me, mental instability, right? And they've just gone so far, a lot far, right? That it's just more unmanageable, right? And they just have these impulsive, very impulsive moments. But and then I hear people who are, they just want to be listened to. And I could tell that they've had like a whole lifetime, of not being listened to or heard. And then it just manifested into a deep, you know, um, state of instability. So if you leave something long enough that's unaddressed, if it's unaddressed for long enough, eventually the person will most likely descend into a more serious form of mental illness. But this is not something to like tease people about, be afraid of, shamed or guilted or anything like that. Because like I said, most of us are in that state, of mental instability at some level. So it's important for all of us to be mindful of ourselves, like how we treat ourselves, how we treat others, how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to others, and things like that. And kind of, stop thinking that the world just only revolves around us and our pain and what we've been through. We're all on this life's journey together, and we are learning to develop compassion and things like that. And it's good to be able to look at someone, and instead of like ridiculing them or shaming them or making fun of them or putting them down, thinking that we're better than them, so look at these people, any people. It doesn't have to be so-called like mad person or whatever. It can be anyone. Look at someone and you see, because always human nature, it's always easy to see what's going on with somebody else instead of ourselves. But just start to look and look with compassion and understanding to see what's underlying the issue, their issues. Because like I said, if you really take time, just step back and just really listen and observe, and then you can kind of connect it to yourself. Because when I was observing these people, I connected it to myself. And yes, I've been through bouts of depression, even though way back in the day, I just said, oh, I'm nervous. Depression, anxiety, I'm nervous. I didn't have a label for it, and I didn't even know I was depressed until I kind of got diagnosed with that. But, I was able to look and said, I've had pretty much my whole lifetime of unmet needs, a lack of boundaries, and when I did not address that, I started to feel worse and worse within myself. you know my peace had my peace was gone, you know and I thought I was happy, but when I started to work on myself and develop boundaries and really focus in and hone in what I needed to work on within myself to give myself peace of mind, you know and not to let people trample all over me. I'm like, oh, this could have, if I were to leave it, it would have led to somewhere really, really, somewhere where I would not want to be, you know, and it already had manifested in my body anyway, with all sorts of different health ailments, like a list of health ailments and things like that. Some of them have gotten a lot better, but I know exactly what I need to do to work on it, and that's coming. But kind of look and see, and don't judge anybody. Have compassion, some understanding, and some empathy for them. It's not really about pitying anyone, or feeling sorry for someone, because that's not going to help, but have an understanding that they're going through things just like everybody else has gone through things. And with yourself, if certain things are not addressed with love and compassion, you're going to end up most likely in a place where you're not going to want to be, because it's going to get very heavy. The energy is going to get very heavy within yourself. So like I said, we need to change this label of crazy and things like that, because I've had people do some things to me and you would think that they were perfectly fine, right? Perfectly fine and well adjusted. No, not at all. Not at all. So, um, like I said, that's a lot of people, and I'm sure many of you have had experiences like that as well. But this is the time, we're in a time now where we need to love and nurture ourselves. And that means making sure that we are doing things that make us feel good. As in, I'm not talking about like, all sorts of addictions and coping mechanisms and all those things. Those are like covers to what's really going on deep inside, So if you find yourself having the same type of experiences over and over and over, what can you do in a healthy way to address those, so things don't spiral out of control and that you're living your best, most happy life? Because we have to cultivate the happiness within ourselves. We have to cultivate the peace within ourselves, So let's just come back to a sense, of ourselves where we hold ourselves accountable, for the things that happen in our lives, and we approach ourselves with love and compassion and do the same for others. And once again, get to know who we truly, truly are, which is we are loving beings who are trusting and kind and helpful and thoughtful and generous, right? And we all have that power within ourselves to cultivate and to create the life that really calls to us, not worrying about what other people are going to say or think, because you're not out there hurting someone or hurting yourself. So let's just get back to that time when we were like children, right? And happy and fulfilled. Okay, that's it for today. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.